Good morning, everyone. It's Mamaw. It's Sunday morning coffee time. And Lord, there is so much to cover today. So I'm going to wait till some of you get a chance to hop on and we'll see how the day goes. See if anybody remembers to hop on. There we go. We've got a couple of people hopping on. When you hop on, just let me know you're on and where you're from. Make it a fun morning. All right, now we're starting to get our viewers on. I try to be punctual. I think it's from being in the Army. Makes you want to be on time for stuff, unless I have a problem with the internet or technical, which is very apt to happen because I'm old. So, all right, Nancy Ferguson says she's here. Well, hell, we can start the show. Boy, that's a pretty sunset picture you got there, Nancy. Callista, good morning. Laura, good morning to you too. Good to see my regulars hopping on. Okay. Patricia, Palm Beach County lawsuit. Oh, that shit. He'll just kick the can down the road. But we will see. Late 2025. Yeah, and I think that they're also trying to file against the Epstein estate, and we'll talk about that a little later. And I don't think he's going to get anywhere with suing different news outlets anymore. They've learned if they fight back and they can say, okay, we're going to have depositions, that he backs down. Now, the other change is, I know this microphone's right in my face, but I had a bunch of people say they couldn't hear me or the sound went in and out, so I have to sit here and make sure I keep this in my face. Lisa, good morning to you too. Connie Gage from Dewey, Oklahoma. Margie Murphy's on. How we doing here? Robin Solis, good morning to you too. Darcy, good morning to you too. Joan Henry, Western Pennsylvania. Chris Volpe, good morning. Chris is running for Senate here in Ohio. Uh, Cheryl Kotora, good morning to you. Uh, Margaret from the UK, well, bless your heart. And I mean that in a good way. Thank you for hopping on. Barbara Matson, good morning to you. Good morning, Jackie. I'm glad you enjoyed Amy Acton. I told you I think she's the real deal. Judy Matula from Austin, Texas. Good morning to you too. Let's get a few more on here before we get started. Susan Bartlett from Wisconsin. Wendy Allen. Baking cookies. Oh, girl, that is my weakness. Kathy Irwin. Good morning to you, salty sister. Bertha Lou Campbell. Good morning. Caitlin Steeg. Good morning to you too. See if we get a few more to hop on here. What I understand is we have about a 10-minute delay in people getting notified that I'm on live, and I can't fix it. So that's just something we're going to have to learn to deal with, so we can do our hellos and everything at the beginning till people hop on, and then we'll get on with our news. And I've got 4 pages of stuff to go over this morning. So it's going to be a lot. Pam Clark from Virginia. Good morning. Good morning, Brenda of Artsy Aubreys. We'll talk about that in a minute. Uh, Mary from Virginia. Good morning, Lauren. Anne from South Dakota. Oh, bless your heart. I don't know how y'all do it up there. But that's the home of Brian Bangs. I hope you support him. I think he would be a wonderful addition to our Senate. Uh, Donna Hovey from Maine. You're not much better than South Dakota. And Janie is back in Middletown. Good morning. Lorraine from Milton, West Virginia. That's almost a neighbor. And Sandy Hill from Utah. Good morning. Michelle from Pennsylvania. Good morning to you too. Boy, everybody got up early to spend some time with Mamaw. I am honored. Glad y'all could join in. Constance from Buffalo. Fiona from Maryland. Barbara Adkins, good morning to you too. Candy from Lawrence, Kansas, good morning to you. Boy, everybody got up early this morning. Y'all must be bored the weekend before Christmas. I know we're kind of bored here too. Roger Clark, Bellevue, Pennsylvania, good morning. Nicole Caldwell from San Antonio. My grandpa used to take my mamaw to San Antonio every Christmas to get her a Christmas rose. He was a truck driver. That was always fun for them. Massachusetts, Deborah Knoll. Keisha Blackwell, Arizona. Oh, Keisha, you happen to have Vivek Ramaswamy out in Arizona. Instead of running for governor and talking to the people of Ohio, he's out there in Arizona talking to people. You can keep him if you want, because we don't really want him here. So if you want to keep him out there, you go ahead. Leslie Moore from El Paso. Sandra Cam, Fargo, North Dakota. That's worse than being from South Dakota. Good Lordy. Okay, we're going to get started here. We got over 100 on, and I'm sure some more people will jump on. I'm blessed and thankful that y'all jumped on that did. So, here we go. I've got a lot of stuff to cover. Well, if you'll remember the week before last, I put out, what do you want to see from Mamaw? And I apologize if I got to keep wiping my nose. I don't know if I got a sinus infection or allergies. It's not really like a cold. Dr. Jackie, you might have to jump in and help me here. This is terrible. But anyway, it might just be the weather fluctuations. It's supposed to be 60 degrees here in southern Ohio on Thursday, for God's sakes. And it's been 0. Anyway, so this is the first day of winter, of solar winter. No, not solar winter, but it's the first day of winter on the calendar. And I wish the last day of winter was the 30th, and then we could say winter was over. But that's not how it works here in Ohio. We've had big snows even in April. But I would like to thank Obscure Mics. And there again, it was Barker that said, you got to stay closer to that mic when you're talking. So here I am. And Artsy Aubrey's. Brenda's on there this morning. If you get a chance, make sure you get you a shirt or a cup. Send me a picture in a PM and I'll post it, because I think it's great. And I mean, I've got big hands, and you can see these are big mugs. So that tells you, I think these are 20 or 22 ounce. So you can get you a big mug, and then we have smaller mugs if you don't like a big mug of coffee. But Lord, with the taco, we need all the coffee size we can get. So make sure you post your gear and your pictures, and we're going to ramp up and have some more stuff added by spring. So it'll be a fun time, because 2026 is going to be something. Anyway, so I listened to all of you when I put out week before last. What do you want to see? Where do you want me to go from here? Do you want me to expand? And the reason I put that out there is Mamaw was really stressing, do I have to expand to these other platforms, and what would I have to learn, and what kind of software would that entail? And it was going to be a big undertaking to do what a lot of these other do. Well, thankfully, all of y'all seem to watch me on Facebook anyway, so I am blessed, and that's where I'm going to stay primarily. So nothing is going to change as far as me being on Facebook, you watching on Facebook, and posting. I will still continue to store all of my drops on YouTube, and I'll tell you why. I do have a following on YouTube, but if you want to go back and look through some of my older material, or if there was a particular drop you felt was funny, you can go to YouTube, scroll down, and then you'll see dots on the side. You click that, and there's a share button, and you can copy the link and share it out if you want to. Or you can just go through a lot of my material. People say, Mamaw, you need to talk about XYZ. And then I give them the link from YouTube and show them I already talked about XYZ. Here it is. Look at it again, because usually I've already covered those things. So I'll continue to store everything on YouTube. I'm going to continue to post, especially any interviews that I do, on Substack, because we really like that platform and the ability to put articles with it. Sassy takes care of that. And it's also nice the way it breaks things down into short snippets that we can use. And I do have Substack followers. We'll put it out on Blue Sky just because, why not? And TikTok for as long as until somebody else blows it up. But my primary focus will remain just Facebook. So that took a big burden off of me, knowing y'all are happy here. We're content. We're going to move forward. So nothing's going to change as far as what I'm doing now, where I'm putting my material, or how I'm storing it. Sunday morning coffee and Taco Tuesday will remain. So every Sunday morning at 10 a.m., we'll still do our live and our interaction together. And then Taco Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Now, in the summertime, we may adjust that a little bit, but that's going to remain the same. That seemed to be what you all liked. These are the days that you all liked, so that's where we're going to stay. However, as the election year of 2026 starts ramping up, or as the taco continues to do bizarre shit, this is one of my sweatshirts, and on the back of it is my logo, and underneath it reads, "You can't make this up." Because you can't. The taco, just when you think it can't get any more outrageous, he does something even more outrageous. So I will start doing more lives that are unannounced, just a quick quip, less than 10 minutes. And then I'll still do where I record and edit stuff. So that's you're going to see more of all of a sudden I'm on live, you can watch. But those are just primarily because it's going to be longer than 3 minutes. So you'll see more of those as it ramps up. I'm also, in the spring, back when I can get back on the porch, I'm going to start having candidates, and we're going to talk a little bit what I need from you to do that on my porch. Instead of me having to go run down candidates and doing everything on Zoom, which I'm thankful I have Zoom, but it's just not the same. So as I can have candidates on the porch, we'll be sharing those out too. And even with live, we may have a moderator so you can ask questions live. What will be new? For subscribers, starting this month on the 30th, if you have given us your email, and periodically Sassy will post a form you can fill out if you are a subscriber to give us your email. Don't do it if you've already done it. If you've already done it, we've got your email. But if you become a new subscriber, make sure you fill that out. So once a month, we will be having Zoom calls, and that way we can all interact with each other. We can see each other. It's easier to ask questions back and forth. So we're going to start that at the end of this month. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's kind of be nice to put a face with you all. A lot of you all I've noticed are interacting and becoming friends with each other, which is exactly what I wanted the porch community to be. Just like neighbors coming to the porch and visiting, and knowing that somebody hadn't shown up for a while, or checking on each other, or talking to each other, or knowing that you live or used to live near someone. That's exactly the community I wanted to build. So that's working out well, and the Zoom calls will be just another level for that for subscribers. So again, if you're going to Zoom, get your mugs out so we can see them. Papa brought me some fresh coffee, bless his heart. Okay. Also, I'm from Ohio, but the one thing that I had noticed is anytime I post just something about Ohio or an interview just about Ohio, my ratings really plummet. But I do have a lot of you that are from Ohio. So, what I'm going to do is really whittle it down. And for people that are running just in Ohio or for Ohio State platforms, I'm only going to talk about that once a month. That seemed to be what the overall thing was, is, y'all weren't really that interested in Ohio governor and all of our other races and our smaller races, but it's still important to me and my Ohio subscribers. So that'll just be once a month. So I'm not going to stress about trying to get something of Ohio out there regularly. However, if you are running for Congress, U.S. Congress, or Senate, then I am going to have people out there. Now, I'm not going to have every congressional candidate and every Senate candidate. Probably, and any that are contested will wait till after the primary, and then we'll get them on the porch, and then I'm going to explain to you what I need you to do in order to do that. So I'm not a news outlet. I don't have to give fair and equal access to everybody. It would be too much. I mean, the milkman can file papers and say that they're running, and you're spending time with people that don't have the money or backing. So the bigger races will probably be after the primary when we know who our candidates are. And then we are going to go full tilt nationwide on Senate races. Like, we've got 3 outstanding Democrats running in Texas. So we'll wait and see who wins the primary in Texas, and then we'll try to get that candidate on. So kind of along those lines. So that's what we're going to be changing there. And then we'll just have people to come on the porch this spring and just sit and visit and get their take and just kind of have an open thing. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And again, hopefully we'll have a moderator in the spring that can ask your questions as we're sitting there live doing our Q&A. But here's what I need from all of y'all. In order to get the Senate candidates, let's say from Texas or Florida, out west in places, what I need from you is we're going to have to grow this platform. I am ever so grateful. We're at 88,000 and still growing, but we need to be at over 100,000 for the candidates to take us serious enough to come and sit on the porch and be interviewed so that you can see them, assess, decide whether you want to contribute to their campaigns or not. Because just $5, when it comes from a lot of people, it helps. And you don't have to do for just the state that they're in. Keep in mind, once they're in Washington, everything they vote on and do affects all of us. So that's why other states' congressional and Senate candidates are important. So what I need from y'all is, if you want to see these interviews and you want our porch community to have some clout, if you want to say I'm a member of the porch community and I'll bring it to the community, we need to grow. So if I do a particular drop or have information that you like, don't just hit the share. Go down through everyone in your friends list and share it with them that way, or on other platforms, and ask them to share. But aside from just sharing, ask them to hit the follow button. So when you share something of mine that you like, please ask them to also follow Mamaw's Porch and Politics. And that way we can grow and expand so that we've got some clout, and they'll understand that Just because we're over 50 doesn't mean we don't have political clout and that we're not a voting bloc to be reckoned with. So that's what I need from you, because the more followers that we have, the more the algorithm will push our information up, and the more people realize that we've got a pretty good voting bloc here. And I know that's over some of your heads, but this is all run by artificial intelligence and this algorithm. And in order to push it, you have to have more followers. He with more followers floats to the top. It's just like old fashioned milk and cream. The cream goes to the top, and that's the first thing that people see. So that's my ask of y'all. If you'll look, Sassy just posted the link tree. You can click on that, and on the link tree, then you can go down and click. You can buy Mamaw a cup of coffee. You can click and see Mamaw's merchandise on Artsy Aubrey's. It's got my link to YouTube, Blue Sky, Substack, and of course Facebook. So if you need to find something, if you go on my first page, you're going to see a link you can click on. Everything is that link tree, and everything's on there. So that's how we move stuff along. That's how you can find out where I am, and that's how you get information. And don't be afraid to send me a PM, because I'm more than glad to explain to you how things work, because I've had to fumble around and learn this too. So I understand. No embarrassment. Don't be ashamed to ask. There's no such thing as a dumb question. If you don't know where something is or how it works, ask me. If I don't know, I'll find out. But we need to push this along, because 2026 is going to be arguably one of the most critical elections in our lifetime, and we're old. Everybody worries about a presidential election, but this election, to get people in Congress and Senate that can be the guardrails around the taco, this is important. We have got to corral that insane man, because apparently nobody in the GOP, which is now MAGA, is going to. And if they finally had enough, they can't take it anymore, they're just quitting. So there you go. So, then the other thing I wanted to say is, first of all, I really want to thank those of you who, when somebody hops on there and says something snarky about Mamaw, you come to my defense. But before you do that, click on that person's bio, because we're trying to get rid of these bots. And if they have fewer than 125 followers, and they have for their picture something really generic, or just show a lot of animals but nothing really, if they haven't been on, haven't had a profile for very long, they're a bot. Those are made at bot farms. They're fake, and they're meant to screw up your algorithm and to get people upset and to energize negative response. So what we do, I let anybody leave a comment on that's legit, but if they're a bot, don't argue with them. And that's how easy it is to check. You see their thing before you respond, click on it, and if they fall into those parameters, don't argue with them, because that's what generates getting all this negative stuff. And remember, I told you these algorithms are selling fear. That's their big seller. They want to sell fear, they want to sell negativity, and we're just not going to do that. Just ain't going to have it. And believe you me, the people that are real, that get nasty with anybody on my porch, because remember, my porch is a safe space, I boot them off the porch and permanently. Continuing on. I told you I had a lot to cover today. Let me see if we have any questions on what I've covered so far. Well, I got a lot of you from California today. Bless your hearts. Let's see. Lorraine, Richard Ojeda. Papa and I have supported him back when he ran in West Virginia. I'm really going to try to get him on the porch. I've sent a few messages. He hasn't answered yet. If you have any information on how to get a hold of him, but let's get his rank right. He's not a sergeant major. He was a major. He started out enlisted, then he went to OCS, which is Officer Candidate School, and became an officer and retired as a major. So he was not a sergeant major, he was a major. He retired as an officer. But yeah, Lorraine, if you can hook me up, I would love to interview Ojeda. I think he's great, and North Carolina would be doing themselves a big service to have that man in Congress. You're absolutely right. Okay. Yes, Kathy, everybody likes James Tallarico, but you got two other outstanding candidates. That's why I'm holding off to see who wins the primary, and then we'll get them on the porch if we've got enough people to make them interested. Carol Cox, Zoom's easy. If you join up, I'll send you an email. You click on that link, it'll come up. You put in your name, and you should see us live. All you'll require is a laptop, phone, or desktop that has a camera, if you want us to see you, or a microphone that we can talk. It's really easy. If you have any concerns, go find anybody in their 20s or younger to show you real quick. Because honest to God, hand to God, and my friend Carmel and I drove to Ohio University and got a university student to give Mamaw the rundown on how to use Zoom. That's a fact. Carmel, back me up here. So that's how we do that. Okay, so I will continue on. Don't have as many this morning, but it is the weekend before Christmas. On the news, first of all, there was so freaking much this week. I pared it down. I'll go through your scrolls and we'll see what else I'm not about to cover. But good Lord, Taco was on a tear. He just kept throwing spaghetti at the wall just to see what would stick, because he knew that Friday Epstein files were going to come out, and he sure as hell didn't want us talking about that much. He didn't know how much Blondie, Pam Bondi, the protector of pedophiles, could cover for him. I do digress. Let's do it in order. So, the United States of America continues to be the Pirates of the Caribbean. They are still pirating in the name of the citizens of the United States in an undeclared war. Congress has not declared that we have sanctioned Venezuela, so there's no sanctions. So without sanctions, the taking of their oil tankers, the taking of their money, world banks aren't going to take away their money because that has not been sanctioned. So here's where we're at. We took another oil tanker. So we have now confiscated 2 oil tankers without a declaration of war or without formal sanctions on a government. Venezuela is the size of about a third of the United States. There's a really neat thing that you can go to Google, pick out any country in the world to compare to the United States. It is great. The problem I've always had, I used to teach orienteering and was an orienteer, which is somebody that just takes a map and a compass and you navigate on the land and go to these points. Loved it. My problem has always been that we are taught with inaccurate maps. When you're in grade school and high school and even some college classes, you sit there and you look at maps and you think the U.S. is really, really big and everybody else is smaller, and the maps aren't at true scale, so you do not understand then when our government talks about the importance of certain countries and why we have to do things to help them out or to shore them up. Our people in this country do not understand the magnitude of the land that we're talking about. So, for example, I bet a lot of y'all don't realize that Brazil, which is in South America, if you just take Brazil out and put it over the United States, it's as big as the U.S. Australia is as big as the U.S. But if you look on our maps, you think they're smaller. You think that South America's not that big. It's huge. When you take the U.S. and put it in Africa, it's like this little tiny blurb in this huge continent. India, that we were taught was so big, India is not that big. India is only maybe a little more than half of the size of the U.S., maybe not even that big. So these countries that we were taught based on our observation of the maps in our schoolroom are very deceptive. So I want you to start doing that. When anytime the taco says we're going to talk about a country, go to that country and say Iran compared to the U.S., and it'll pop up and put Iran over the U.S. so that you can conceptualize how big or how small these countries are. I hope that helps, but I really want you to do that so that you understand what we're dealing with in landmass and also look at population growth. We were always taught that China was this giant in landmass. It's not that much bigger than the U.S. and some of Canada, land-wise. Population-wise, though, they have a compressed population, as does India. So I hope that helps. I know it's confusing, but we really have to understand what the hell the crazy man in the White House is doing and what his enablers are letting him do. So I do digress. Anyway, so we are confiscating oil from Venezuela, which is not really oil we can use a lot of unless we put it on the market. And we have not put formal sanctions on him. Once again, only Congress can vote on these sanctions. And Mikey Johnson isn't about to let Congress do much of anything, because if he gavels it in, they got a whole laundry list of shit they want to get done. We had 2 more strikes this week, killing 5 people. So we've had a total of 28 boat strikes on an undeclared war because they are now narco-terrorists, whatever the hell that means. And we have now murdered 104 people in the name of the United States. So 104 people have been assassinated without due process. 104 people are dead, and we have no idea what cargo they really had, even though we're fully capable of boarding and confiscating cargo to see what they had. And Petey Pie Hegseth is just so excited. I think he's dancing in diapers. So the story keeps changing on this crap with Venezuela. First it was, we're after narco-terrorists and drugs, except the drugs aren't coming to the U.S. Those boats couldn't make it to the U.S. if they had to. They're going to another island, and this stuff's heading for Europe. Didn't make sense. Now we're confiscating oil. But Susie Wiles, who is the chief of staff for the taco, in a Vanity Fair interview, admitted it's just about regime change. Well, you know what? I don't like Viktor Orban in Hungary, but we're not over there doing stuff with Hungary. I sure as hell don't like Vladimir Putin in Russia, but we're not over there shaking out Russia. The same with Iran, the same with the Saudi Arabia. I mean, we could go on. I don't like the regime we got here either. But you don't go around doing what he's doing in Venezuela. This is just bizarre. It's beyond bizarre that he's mollycoddling Argentina at our expense, and then after Venezuela the way he is. So that's something to pay attention, because keep in mind, he's doing all this in our name. Friday, the Epstein files. As we all suspected, the Epstein files were not released in compliance with the Epstein transparency law at all. Those redactions, the law read that they only could redact the names of victims, I call them survivors, and people, anything that would have to do with national security. That's it. Nobody else was spared. All other names were to be shown. Predators were to be shown. Blondie Pam Bondi, the protector of pedophiles, knows damn good and well what she's done. She's had this stuff by her own admission to Congress. So she either lied to Congress then, or she's lying to him now, because it was on her desk and ready to go. In April was the first time this was brought up. So they've been sitting there. They spent over $1 million of premium pay time for 1,000 FBI agents, pulled them off their job to go erase the tacos' names out of these files, to do these redactions. They're throwing out stuff we already had, we already knew. They're throwing out pictures of just who they believe to be Democrats, like Bill Clinton, without context. That's bullcrap. This was supposed to be in a searchable file. And when they came out and said, oh, well, that was too much. No, 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 no. Any big law enforcement organization these days and the FBI have it so that any attorney, any other law enforcement agency can go. It's called a searchable PDF. You just type in and it searches for that document. So that's a lie. They've put out these pictures. They said, well, they'll get more. They can't get them all. So they're lying. They're not in compliance. And Pam Bondi not only needs impeached, she needs to go to jail because she has violated the law, and she is supposed to be the top law enforcement officer of this country. She violated the law. She lied to Congress. And you can't have it both ways. She needs to go. Dan Bongino has already packed his shit to get out the door because he knows he's toast. Kash Patel's toast. He needs to go. He needs to be impeached. And Pete Hegseth needs impeached. Again, 2026 is important. But I think those three have already messed it up so much that even the Republicans are going to impeach him. So that's going to still be a mess. Several of the things, not only with the redactions, for example, there's 100 pages that are completely black from grand jury testimony. That judge already said you can release it, that it could all be released. And they did that. So they've even violated what a judge's order was. So I don't know what they think they're getting ready to pull and what they think the taco's going to bail them out of. But if they can kick that can down the road long enough, they can get past his term to where he does not have pardon authority. And Pam Bondi needs to read her history because John Mitchell went to prison over what he did for Richard Nixon. It's not like we haven't sent attorney generals to prison. But some of the scams that they've done, Bill Clinton went ahead and released a statement about his photos, and some of those photos were taken at the White House. And then the Michael Jackson photos. The one photo with Bill Clinton and Michael Jackson and Diana Ross and her children were at a fundraising event. So you need context there. The other one, Michael Jackson's bodyguard released a statement, the one with him and Epstein. Michael Jackson was looking for property at Palm Beach. Realtor set it up. He even put in the name of the realtor in his link, but they marked it out because, they didn't want the realtor doxed to verify this. And one of the houses he was looking at in Palm Beach was Jeffrey Epstein's. Michael Jackson's always been, in the past, he was always good about, taking pictures with whomever. And that's when that picture was taken with Jeffrey Epstein, was by request. If you believe about Michael Jackson's proclivities, I don't think Epstein provided much there because he had his own Neverland. I'm not going to get into that. He's dead and gone. Epstein's dead and gone. But that's just kind of the stunt and the shit that they've been pulling. If any Democrat, like Bill Gates that they released, Bill Clinton, did anything with an underage girl, then they should be in trouble. But it's amazing that they took all these photos down last night on the Department of Justice website when they realized that they'd accidentally put in some pictures of the taco. So stay tuned. They've already brought up articles of impeachment. Congressman Massey and Congressman Ro Khanna against Pam Bondi, and if they get enough signing on, whether Mikey Johnson likes it or not, that's going to go. Um, Mikey Johnson actually gavelled in the middle of a vote to make this come out, and sent them home early. Mikey Johnson's terrified. Mikey Johnson needs to go. That guy needs impeached, and it may be Marjorie Taylor Greene might just do it on her way out the door in January. Rob Reiner and his wife were tragically murdered this past week, and of course, the taco had to make it about himself. People, I'm about to make a bunch of people mad right now. At least younger people, anyway. When we went through 2 generations now of everybody had to get a trophy, you never make your children be responsible for what they do. When your kids act up and you constantly bail them out instead of making them atone for what they've done. If you keep telling your children that they're absolutely perfect, not only by your words, but your actions. When you don't take the time to see what they're doing and you just let them run amok, what you will raise is a taco. When you don't have time, you will raise a taco. When you think money can buy them out of anything, you will raise a taco. Taco is what he is because of Fred Trump and his mother. He was always perfect, and anytime he got in trouble, they bailed him out. He always got trophies anywhere they sent him. He brags about how he went to school. His instructors say he was a moron, but that daddy paid in enough money to Pennsylvania University, the Wharton School of Business, that they had to push him through. So, yes, your education can be bought and paid for. People, don't raise a taco. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that. And if I offended anybody, I'm sorry, but I am adamantly against participation trophies. You need to get out there and work, and you need to be able to accept not everybody is a world-class athlete. Not everybody is a genius, but everybody has value. But you can't keep bailing people out, and you shouldn't be rewarding people who didn't work as hard as people who worked their butts off. And that's all I'll say about that. Um, this week also, we had to endure the taco giving us a totally unhinged 20-minute speech in prime time. Being yelled at by the President of the United States because you don't believe his bullshit is kind of rich, but everybody was bored. It was the least watched presidential speech in history. The minute everybody realized they were getting yelled at and he wasn't saying we were going to war, they tuned out. It was ridiculous. He thinks he's still campaigning. He still's trying to make Biden and Obama the boogeyman, and we're all so over it. Dude, you've been in the job for a year. It's on you. It's nobody else. You were handed the keys to a really nice car and you're totaling it. You keep wrecking it. It's got dents all over the place. Ain't buying what you're selling. Excuse me. Excuse me again. So then he goes to North Carolina to give a speech. Hand to God, this is the truth. I've looked it up on 4 different sources. And he starts talking about the First Lady's underwear. So he's talking about the raid on Mar-a-Lago when he had all the classified information he wasn't entitled to, because they're also trying to hide Jack Smith's testimony. I didn't even put that on my list to cover yet. And he said that they went through her drawers, but she also has drawers. And he proceeded to talk about her panties and how neat she keeps them, and she folds them, and then she wraps them, apparently in tissue paper. And he said she even steams them. Taco, that's the only way she gets her panties steamed living with you. That's what she was talking about. And that's all I'll say. but you're incapable of steaming up her panties. I doubt that you've been in the same wing as she's been in for years. That's all I'm going to say. I wouldn't let you around to steam my panties either if I were her. So that's all I'm going to say. But yeah, he's telling everybody about her panties being steamed. The man's nuts. Um, Unemployment continues to go up. They're even going to drop our interest rates a little bit because we are really starting to spiral. The economy is good if you're already rich. It's to the point now, even rich people are saying, we really ought to be paying taxes. It's pretty bad when they even realize what the taco and MAGA has done. They're wanting rewarded with big campaign donations from a handful of people. Well, you know what? That handful of people's only a handful of votes. You don't have to believe the crap that you're seeing by these PACs and super PACs on TV. In fact, promise me that in the coming year, anytime a political ad comes on network TV, if you still watch it, you'll turn it off. I want you to be based on facts about people running for office, not on what you're seeing from these PACs, because they're running scared. The rich think they're going to own serfs again. This is just like the warlords of medieval time thinking they're going to own serfs, and it didn't last that long. Unemployment's up, prices are up. In Taco's speech, the 1776 checks that he's giving all the members of the military, that was their housing allowance that they get anyway. I mean, that's what he's doing. He's giving them their housing allowance. It's not additional money. It sure isn't tariff money. Tariff money we still haven't had a full accounting of. Tariff money that we are paying that was not approved by Congress because Mikey Johnson's a chicken shit. So we are paying tariffs. We have no idea where that money is. We have no formal accounting of how much money there is. Keep that in mind. So that was on that. Continuing on. The taco has decided that we all need to be graced with the name Trump all over the government. So he wants to build this ballroom. We know where that's gotten. He tore down the East Wing. He's done the Presidential Walk of Fame, except if it was a Democrat, and it's a walk of shame, except for the Bushes, and that was a walk of shame. So we've got that. Taco, it's the Gulf of America. You're not allowed to say the Gulf of Mexico. Screw you, Taco. It's the Gulf of Mexico. He's changed the Department of Defense to Department of the War. No, it's the Defense Department. And now he has had his name put on the Kennedy Center. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was a war hero in World War II. Bonafide war hero. If you don't believe it, look up PT 109. Watch the movie PT 109. That was JFK. Had a bad back because of it. He was a congressman, then a senator of note, and then he was our youngest U.S. president at the time. He was assassinated. He did a lot of the groundwork for the Civil Rights Acts that Johnson later passed. And Taco put his name, the Donald Trump and Kennedy Center. Already had his name put on there. Again, without an act of Congress. Who the fudge does that sorry old SOB think he is? So yeah, that's what Taco's doing. It's soon going to be the Taco and Lincoln Memorial. It'll be the Taco and Washington Memorial. And then he wants to build something bigger than the Arc de Triomphe for triumphs he has never had. FIFA had to give him his little participation chocolate medal last week because, he's just so needy. It's all about him. So, yeah, only Congress can do this. We need to flip Congress and Senate, get his freaking name ripped off of this stuff. And I'm telling you, when he's out of office, we need to have it so that the next president removes any mention of the taco other than a big asterisk. He was the sorriest, most corrupt president to have ever sat in that office. His corruption with his family businesses, they don't even try to hide it. He's just got it right out in the open. That's insane. And then to continue on. Now Elise Stefanik is all up in tears from New York. She's withdrawn from the governor's race and she's not running for Congress again. Now, Elise Stefanik was another little pit bull for the taco, just like Marjorie Taylor Greene was. And she was a moderate. She is well educated, but she saw a way to stab Liz Cheney in the back and take over her position, and then she became rabid. It amazes me. It just cracks me up. And a lot of this, I think, is for people that have never worked in the corporate world. You see all this racing and changing and jockeying for positions, for management positions, and what they do to each other. And then somebody comes along and they're shocked when they get screwed over. Let me tell you something. Whatever you see them doing to somebody else and you cheer it on is absolutely what they will do to you. I don't know why Elise Stefanik is so crushed, or why Nancy Mace is so crushed that the taco's not out there campaigning and working for him. That's what he does. Ask Michael Cohen what happened to him. And he was nasty and vicious and went after people like Stormy Daniels, and then he ends up eating crow. This is what the taco does. There is no loyalty with the taco. So all of these people that are gutting themselves, that are absolutely handing all of their spine, their pride, their cojones over for the taco, who quiver in the corner over the taco, and then you're shocked when he screws over you? Well, you freaking fool. So anyway, Elise Stefanik's just yet another one that's going down the toilet because of her love for the taco. I don't feel sorry for her. That's what you get. You could have had some pride in yourself and go out the way Liz did and Adam Kinzinger did. But no, you thought you'd make a play, and now you're whining. No sympathy here. It's the same with Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's suddenly seen the light. I remember Marjorie. You sold your soul, and you were mouthy, and you were hateful just to get in good graces with the taco, and you've been screwed over. Live with the consequences. Same with Nancy Mace. You live with the consequences. Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, did an interesting hit job on the Vanity Fair. That is definitely worth a look of what she and Taco think of everybody in there, especially our very own Jimmy Hamill. Seems that she knows that Jimmy Hamill's a fake and that he will go the way the wind blows, and he's a conspiracy theorist. Oh, gee, that's a shock. Jimmy Hamill will do whatever Peter Thiel tells him to. When Peter Thiel says it's time, Jimmy Hamill will invoke the 25th. You wait and see. And keep in mind that Jimmy Hamill, being beholden to Peter Thiel is a gay, openly gay, and here's all the people against that, openly gay, South African, Nazi sympathizer. And all of those he has openly said, and he's out there. He's worth millions. We let him in this country knowing he was a South African Nazi sympathizer. And being South African, he was brought up in apartheid, just like Elon Musk. And we're kissing his ass and letting him pull the strings on our country, including our vice president. Keep that in mind. Mike Johnson, I already told you, he's recessed and sent Congress home because he's scared to death. They're about to do what congressmen are supposed to do. Mark Kelly, the Navy has already issued all of the things that could happen to Mark Kelly. The funny thing is Mark Kelly has issued a statement. He still hasn't been formally served with anything. He's got Petey Pie Hegseth and the Tacos saying all this crap, but there has been no formal notice or documentation to Mark Kelly at all. They're just running their chops. Mark Kelly even watched the boat strike video that they won't let us see, that we should see since it was done in our name, and sat right across from Petey Pie, and Petey Pie wouldn't even look him in the eye because, Mark Kelly really is a hero that can pop him one, and Petey Pie Hegseth's just a drunk that likes to beat on women. And finally, we're going to have the Patriot Games. Now, have y'all watched the Hunger Games? Because you should. The Patriot Games that the Taco wants to hold next year, we will take our top male and female athlete from every state, and we're going to have them do games for the entertainment of the Taco. Also in 2026, they're building a big arena on the White House lawn for Linda McMahon to have pro wrestling. I kid you not. If that doesn't make you nauseous, nothing will. We have turned the White House into a freak show. So that's all. And I'm telling you, that was 4 pages. That's all I got. And I just want y'all to know I keep all of these in a notebook. Everything that I've ever written down, which is considerable. I know I should be typing, but I don't. So I keep this all written down. So let me go through a few questions before we get off of here. I've held you all an hour. I hope you haven't been bored, but this is important stuff, and this was a week. This was a week. Well, the Supreme Court, Barbara, everybody brings up. The one thing about the Supreme Court is the number of people sitting on the Supreme Court is not in the Constitution. And we can amend the Constitution from lifetime amendments and put a term limit. I've heard Pete Buttigieg has a brilliant idea of an 18-year rotation, and if you do that, pretty much every president will get to nominate to the Supreme Court. And we have got to firmly tell anyone running for office, you will vote term limits even on the judiciary. Mandatory retirement on the judiciary at 75, period. Mandatory retirement. If we did that, you'd get rid of half of the damn fools that are sitting on the Supreme Court and the federal bench. So mandatory retirement age for the judiciary, and that's not prejudicial. They do that at state. States have mandatory retirement age for their judges. They need to do the same at the federal level. We need mandatory term limits at the federal level for Senate and Congress. Listen, we have them at the state level. The president can only run 2 terms in a lifetime, period. At the state levels, most states have term limits on the governor. A lot of states have voted in term limits on their House and their state senates. This is not unusual, nothing outlandish. We need to do it at the federal level. You put in 20 years, you're done, out of there, thank you for your service, or something thereof, and we need to hold them to it. Because as long as you got people in there, you can't get out unless it's foot first, we're going to stay in this problem that we're in. So let me go in. Eileen says, how dare he put his disgusting name on John Kennedy Center for Performing Arts? Is there no one in D.C. to stop this garbage? Well, apparently not, because of Mikey Johnson. Now, if they continue to hemorrhage Republicans like it appears they're going to before the next election, what will happen is governors will appoint, because it'll be too close to the general election next year to have a special election. So the governor will appoint to finish out the term. A lot of these states, even though heavily gerrymandered with some of these Republicans, we have a Democratic governor. And depending on the state constitution, the Democratic governor could appoint Democrats in there. Mikey Johnson can't afford to lose many more, and he loses the speakership anyway. So that's something to watch. And keep in mind, I think only 5 or 10 people have to object to Mikey, and they have to have a revote on a speakership anyway. So I don't think it's completely done with old Mikey Johnson. Okay. Janice says local elections are primary, heavy, paramount, join. Yes, make sure that you participate in your local elections. We've got to get back to participating in primaries and general elections, and I'll tell you why. Everybody has gotten to where they don't participate in primaries because they want to be an independent, and I get that. But then come fall, everybody bitches about their choices. And then you ask them, well, who'd you vote for in the primary? Well, I didn't vote in the primary. Well, if you didn't vote in the primary, that's why you have those choices in the fall, except for independent candidates. So you can't bitch in the fall or sit it out because you didn't participate in the primary to put forth a candidate you could vote for. It's important. So just kind of get over yourself. Decide this year at least, I'm going to pick a side, vote in that primary, and get somebody that's electable in a general election in the fall. The other problem I have, and both parties are guilty of this, you get only a handful of people that participate in a primary. They put extremists in there, and then they wonder why they can't get elected in the fall. That's why. You got to vote on people that are electable. Okay. What else we got in here? Okay. As usual, y'all, I'll go through your questions or your comments, and I'll comment on them privately because I can't sit here and read them till I get somebody on the side that can do that. And I'll answer you there. Keep in mind, you can always go back and scroll through when we're done with this and it's reposted and read everybody's comments, comment on people's comments. In fact, I really ask that you do. We need to start this conversation. We need to start it with each other. Barbara Ware said she agrees with term limits. Cindy Allen wants to know if any in the Supreme Court are in the Epstein files. That would be interesting to know. I want to know why they redacted so much, because they fell outside of the parameters of what they could redact. Yes, Wendy, I think we all agree. Now, if you all remember a while back, and I can post it again, what we all agreed to that we wanted from our candidates. Don't be afraid to go to these town halls for Congress and Senate candidates and say, hey, this is what we want. Will you uphold it? And under voting rights was term limits. Now, I've gotten commitments from the people that I've already interviewed on the porch. They've already committed to that. You need to make sure everybody else will commit to it. Okay. Let's see. What else we got on here? Okay. Shelley Leach wants you to know that several ICE raids in Columbus yesterday. Nothing lets us celebrate the birth of an immigrant than disappearing immigrants. Boy, you ain't kidding. And I want to say this again. Bernardo Moreno has a bill in Congress that you can't have a dual citizenship. Well, a lot of people have dual citizenships, including the Tacos kids. And he's an immigrant. What is astounding is how many of these people have first-generation immigrants in their family, if not immigrants in their family, and they're cutting the throats of immigrants. What they did in Columbus, which I think is wonderful, is they found out when ICE was doing these raids in Columbus, Ohio this week, they found the hotel the ICE agents are staying in, and they made loud noises all night long to where the other guests left the hotel. They're not letting them sleep. And I'm going to say this, and I want to direct this to everyone who's working for ICE. This is for you guys. You masked bandits, you. Every one of you are freaking cowards. You're pieces of crap. It's not that you need the job. There's plenty of other jobs out there. It's because you're cruel, sorry SOBs, and you are choosing. You are choosing to do this job. This is a new job. It's not like you got a lot of retirement backed. You're choosing to be the cruelest, sorry SOB in this country. And you know what you're doing is wrong. You know what you're doing is cruel. And you know that you will be found out eventually when this administration's gone, or you wouldn't be hiding your face. You know what you're doing is wrong, or you would readily identify yourself, and you don't. I posted a very good video. I hope you all go back, of a veteran who had his camera out when ICE agents, who surprisingly weren't masked, but who refused to identify themselves, refused to identify what agency they were with, take down an immigrant. I don't know what his status was, whether he was legal or not, doesn't matter. Had him zip tied, and then were getting out a taser to tase him after he was already subdued, still wouldn't identify themselves, told the veteran that he couldn't film him. He said, I absolutely can. Went to take the veteran's phone from him to where the veteran told him, you touch me, I'll knock you clear across this room, which I think he would have. We need to bear witness. Do as he did. You can't stop what they're doing, but you can bear witness, and you post it. But you people who are ICE agents, you can quit. You are sorry. Don't look in the mirror. And if people find out who you are, you should be spat upon. You are no better than Hitler's brown shirts. Period. And that's Mamaw's lecture of the day. So make sure you bear witness if you see it. Yeah, Kathy Irwin wants you all to remember that if you're on Social Security, you get a $50 raise, and it's going to cost us $210 for Medicare. And I have talked to quite a few people who are just in a full-scale panic over the cost of their health care. I would have thought, and that's why he gavelled out, they tried to do another discharge petition. Mikey Johnson's had more discharge petitions against him than any other speaker has. They tried to do a discharge petition and have a vote on health care. And in the middle of the vote, Mikey Johnson gavelled out the congressional session and sent them home for the holiday. That's what Mikey Johnson did. For those of you who live in Louisiana, in Mikey Johnson's district, don't you dare vote that sorry little twit back into office. But that was what Mikey did. So everybody's sitting sick to their stomach at what their health care premiums are about to do. And there's nobody. Do not let anybody bring up Obama, Biden, or Democrats when it comes to that. We had it handled. They did what they're doing. They have nothing better. Nothing better. They have offered nothing. They want to give you $2,000 for the year. And that's not going to help you if you get sick or get in an accident. That's not going to help you purchase your plan, because some people have that spent in 3 months paying for their premium. It's ridiculous. They just don't want you to have. And I say strongly that members of Congress should have the same health care their constituents have. Because, boy, they got nice plans, and they get to keep them when they retire. Keep in mind, Marjorie Taylor Greene, when she retires, gets to keep her health care, too. All righty. Yes, Kathy Irwin, many of the ICE agents are J6 partners. And I already told you last week about the guy in Cincinnati that's in jail. They're J6ers. Okay, I've kept you over an hour, but I just had so much that I had to cover. And I love you all. We will be back on Tuesday night. I know that that's right up against the holidays, but we'll still do it Tuesday because God knows what Taco can do in a few days. But then after that, I want you all to have a wonderful Merry Christmas. And those of you who are subscribers, I will talk to you on the 30th. You all got your invites. You have a happy new year. And I'll see you next Sunday for Coffee with Mamaw. Bye bye.